Hi to all. Today we'll be looking at solving for a variable. So through this video, we'll be learning how to solve an equation just for a variable only. Uh, Hopefully by the end of this video, your understanding of this lesson is going to be very clear, and in fact, it's a easier concept. Already, as we know all of you must be aware of the rules of solving equations by now. So it's the same one, but only we are going to deal with very more of variables in this lesson. Okay, so to start with, the important thing here, we can rearrange a formula to isolate or solve for any variable by using inverse operations. Now this word isolate means to keep alone. All right, so isolate means to keep alone. So here, as the lesson name suggests, solving for a variable. So we are going to isolate a variable. We are going to keep a variable alone according to the question which they are telling. So the question says isolate or solve for this variable, for a variable, maybe A, maybe K. So we are going to isolate, or we are going to solve for that particular letter which they want. Now to solve that, of course, as always for solving formulas, we need inverse operations. So for this also, we are going to use inverse operations. Now by now, you must have all been very familiar with inverse operations, all the four operations and the inverse of them. Opposite, inverse means the opposite operations, opposite of what has been done. So this is being called the solving for a variable. So what we are going to do is called solving for a variable. So to start with, I'll start with an easy example. Solve the formula D equals RT for R. Now they said you have to solve this formula, which is D equals RT for R. So we have to isolate R. We have to keep R alone. We are going to solve the equation for R. Okay, now the first thing first we need to understand this formula. What does D equals RT means? R and T, from the beginning of the first video for this chapter, I've been telling you, if a variable and a letter are together, that means they have been multiplied, but there is no multiplication sign in between. You need to understand that if a variable and another variable, or a number and a variable are together, means that they have been multiplied. So if we expand this, or if we write it in a longer form, we have to write it as D equals R multiplied by T. Now it's crystal clear. We have to isolate R. We have to keep R alone. So to keep R alone, what do? We have to do something with this T, right? So to remove the T, okay, because we have to keep R alone, we cannot keep R with T. So to remove the T from there, we have to do the opposite. So here, multiply by T, when we have to remove it, it becomes divide by T. So the opposite of multiply is divide. The inverse of multiply is divide. So it becomes D divided by T equals R, or R equals D over T. It's the same, only that for this I wrote R on this right hand side, and here I have written R on the left hand side. Literally, they mean the same. It's easy as this. Okay, so let's see one more example. So the formula 5 equals I minus gt for I. Now to understand how to isolate I, we need to understand what this equation tells us. So f equals I minus gt, we have to keep I alone. So to keep I alone, what do you need to do? You need to move the g and t together. Now because we have to move them together, we are not going to separate them as g multiplied by t. Let them be g multiplied t, it's okay, but we are going to move them together. So because we are moving them together, the negative sign that will change as the inverse. So inverse of minus is plus. So finally you get the answer as f plus gt equals I, or I equals f plus gt. Now I have always a habit of writing the variable which we are solving for in front, but if you write like this also, it's okay, it's fine. But this way we can have a clear picture of I. We are solving for I, so I is equal to f plus gt. It's easy, right? Let's look at one more example. 5 minus b equals 2t for t. 2t, again, here comes tutti frutti, fine. 5 minus b equals 2t for t. So we are going to isolate t from this. To understand this equation, now again t and 2 are together, so we need to separate them. So how will it be separated? Of course it will be separated by a multiplication sign, because they both are together means it's multiplied, right? So we have to move the t now. We have to move the 2 now away from t. So it is 2 multiplied. So when you remove the 2, that becomes inverse, right? So that will be inverse of multiplication, will become dividing. So 5 minus b divided by 2 equals t, or t equals 5 minus b over 2. In fact, this circle should have been placed over 2, not over t, because we are moving the 2. So it was a small organization mistake here. So the circle should have been on 2. So we are moving the 2 to the side, which means opposite of multiply is divide. So when it moves 2 to, when the t moves to the other side, it becomes divided by 2. It's very easy. Okay, now one more question, for example, and then let's start practicing. So solve the formula d equals m divided by v for v. Now this question here, we have to isolate the v. So easily you might say, we can remove m divided by v. No, you can't remove m. If you remove m, what will we replace m with? There should be something here, right? We have to keep a number here. How can we keep the numerator empty? We cannot keep the numerator empty. So when you have such questions, when you need to remove the v before m, you have to do some steps. So first the formula d equals m divided by v. Now to do this, first we need to get rid of the denominator. This is the numerator, this is the denominator. So to remove the denominator, we need to multiply it to the other side. Okay, because this is m divided by v, so to remove the v, we need to do the opposite of divide. So the opposite of divide is multiply. So we are first going to multiply d with v. Okay, d multiplied by v equals m. See, now the m is clear. It has no numerator, it has no denominator. Though it has a denominator of 1 if you want to, but it's alone. M is alone now. Now we can separate these two. We are solving for v, so we are going to move the d. So now it's d multiplied by v. That means what is the opposite of that going to be? Isolate v. So when we want to isolate the v, you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to move the d multiplied by v. So that becomes inverse of multiply is divide. So we write it as v equals m over d. This is how you need to solve when you're solving for a variable. Okay, so easily you can see, in fact the d should come down and we should go to the other side. There's a trick you can use, where if you have such questions and they say solve for the down variable, the variable goes one side and the d comes to in that place. But these are the proper steps of doing them. All right, so let's get practicing. As the old math teacher is saying, practice math. So let's get practicing. All right, now this question, the formula, now this is in the form of problem solving, but as soon as you see the question, it's clear what you need to do. The formula A equals 446C gives the flow area A. So this A stands for area in square meters that can be wired using C circuits. So part A, there are two parts for this question. So first let's solve part A. Solve A equals 46C for C. Now don't get confused, this is the question. Okay, so the question says A equals 46C and we need to solve it for C. So what does this mean? This means 46 multiplied by C, right? That's why they both are together. Now to remove the 46 away from C, what do you need to do? You need to divide by 46, and what will you be left with? C. So you can write your equation as C equals A over 46. It's the same. Even if you don't write like this, it's okay. But as I told you, I have a habit of always keeping the question. They asked for C, so I have a habit of keeping it in front. That's why I wrote it this way. So all you need to do is 46 multiplied by C. You have to do the opposite to remove 46. The opposite of multiply is divide. So A divided by 46 equals C. Now let's move to part B. What is part B? If a room is 322 square meters, how many circuits are required to wire this room? So we can, they're asking circuits, right? So what is the variable they gave us? C. So we have to find the number of circuits. So we can use the same formula. C is equal to A divided by 46, which means C is going to be equal to, what's the area? Area is 322 divided by 46. Now, if you divide 322 by 46, that will give you a 7. So there, how many circuits? They will need 7 circuits to wire the room. Okay, now if you want to, you can also use the same formula. I'll show you. Now this is not relevant to the question, but also you can use this way. See, 46. See, this is the question given for us, the formula given in the question. Now they said the area is 322, and also they said 46 multiplied by C. Now you know what to do. See, we have to basically do the same thing. To find out the value of C, what do we do? Divide 322 by 46. So that's what we did here. So even if you divide this, you're going to get the answer as 7. It's the same way, but we use the formula which we already solved. Here I showed you how to use the formula which is given in the question. Okay, let's move on and check another question. The formula for the volume of a rectangular prism with length L with W and height H is VL. V is equal to L W H. Fine. So V equals L multiplied by W and multiplied by H. So that's why they all are together, which means multiply, multiply. Now this for a question says solve for W. So we need to keep W alone. So to keep W alone, we need to move L and H to the other side. So they both are multiplied. So what do you think when it moves to the other side? What happens? It becomes divide by LH equals W. It's easy as that. As I have told in a previous video, it's easy as eating a piece of cake, right? Okay, let's move to another question. Now, solve ST plus 3T equals S for S. You can pause the video here. You can try it out for yourselves how to solve. Once you solve, you can check the steps as how I have been doing. It will be much better for you rather than just copying what the steps which I am showing you here. So it's always better, pause the video when there are questions to do, solve it, then you watch the video, so to know whether the answer is correct or if you have done any mistake. Okay, so the question says ST plus 3T equals 6. So we are solving for S. S is here. Oops. So we have to write 6 there. Okay. So we have to solve for S. But first, now S and T are together, which means S multiplied by T. But before we move anything to do for S and T, we have to remove something which is not related to both of them at all. At least here they both have been multiplied. But what about this? This has now no relationship with them at all. So first, let's remove the term which is not concerned with them, right? So ST equals 6 minus 3T. Because it's plus 3T, so when it moves to the other side, it will become minus 3T. Now we can separate the S from the T. Now, as you know, it has multiplication sign in between. So we are removing the T from here. So multiply by T, when it moves to the other side, what does that become? That becomes divide by T. So 6 minus 3T divided by T is the answer. So S equals 6 minus 3T over T. Question number, the next question. So m minus 4n equals 8. So this is the equation they have given us. M minus 4n equals 8. Okay, now m minus 4n equals 8 and you have to solve for m. So it's easy. M is alone, so we have no problem. All that we have to do is move this to the other side. So it's minus 4n. So what happens when it goes to the other side? It becomes plus 4n. So m equals 8 plus 4n. Okay, this is a similar question to the one we did on the last example during the slideshows. So the question says f plus 4 over g equals 6. Now, before we do any, and we are solving for f. So before we do anything for this, as I told you, you always must get rid of the denominator. So to get rid of the denominator, you have to multiply that with here, with the number which is here. So what's that going to give you? That will give you f plus 4 equals 6 multiplied by g will give you a 6g. We don't write the multiplication sign, obviously, right? Now, can we remove 4 from f because we are solving for f? Yes, we can. So it is plus 4 on this side. So when it moves to the other side, what does that become? It becomes f equals 6g minus 4. So the answer is going to be f equals 6g minus 4. Here comes another question of the similar nature. Solve b plus c equals 10 for a. So a is already down, but I cannot remove a like that for nothing, right? I have to solve the denominator, then I need to solve for a. So let's, this is divide. So when it moves to this side, that says it will be multiplied. So a multiplied by b plus c equals 10. Okay, now remember I told you if you have to solve for the down number goes to the other side and the number which is here comes down. Same thing is going to happen here. So now you know it's a multiplied by b plus c. Now can we get rid of b plus c? Yes, now this is multiply, so the opposite of multiply is going to be divide. A is equal to 10 divided by b plus c. See, I told you, when you're solving for the denominator, this number goes up and whatever is that side comes down. Isn't that what happened? It's the same, but we showed it with steps. As this is math, you need proof for everything. If someone asks, how did this happen without showing this step? Then you need to explain, this is what happened. We first multiply the denominator with the side, and then we will move that because it's multiply, so the opposite of multiply will become divide. Okay, let's move on to question number 8. Next question. Now this is a geometry question. So you can see the formula for circumference of a circle. Now, the circumference of a circle, you'll be learning these later in detail, but for now just remember the formula for circumference of a circle is 2, is circumference is c. So the formula is 2 pi r. Now you might wonder what's this sign? This is called a pi. Now nothing like the apple pie or the peach pie which we eat. There's a math symbol. It's like a variable, it's a symbol. Okay, we call it a pi because it has a value of 3.14. The value for this symbol is going to be 3.14. But now we don't need to go into detail about this. Later on, you have a whole chapter in geometry about it. So for now, just remember that it is like a variable. Just consider it as a variable. All right, so it is 2 pi r. Now they said solve for r. So what does this mean, 2 pi r? This means 2 multiplied by the symbol pi multiplied by r. So all of them are multiplied. So we have to leave this alone, right? So what do you think will happen to the next two? That will become c equals, c divided by 2 pi because that's multiply. So the opposite of that will be divide equals r. Write it properly because r should not come up. Okay, so it's going to be c over, now it's these are multiplied, so when it moves to the other side of the equation, that means it will become divide. So 2 pi equals r. Okay, this is how you solve for r. Now let's go to part b. This was part a and this is going to be part b. If a circle's circumference is 15 inches, what is its radius? Leave the pi leave the symbol pi in your answer. So see, again they said not to solve. If they ask you to solve, we have to put this number in place of that and solve it. But they said don't, leave the symbol. So what's the equation we got here? We got c over 2 pi equals r, right? So they said, what is its radius if the circumference is 15? Circumference is 15, which is c divided by 2 pi. So they said leave the symbol, so don't do anything, but only you have to divide 15 by 2. How much is 15 divided by 2? 15 divided by 2 will give you a 7.5 pi, because they said not to do anything for the pi, so leave it as it is. So the radius is equal to 7.5 pi. Now if you want to find out, of course you can put 3.14 in place of this and multiply, but they didn't ask us all this, they just said leave the symbol. So we left the symbol, so radius is equal to 7.5 pi. Okay, now next question we have negative 2 equals 4r plus s. And we have to solve for s. Now this is a very simple one, as you need to only move the 4r to the other side. So this plus 4r, so when it goes to the other side, it will become a negative 4r equals s. If you want to rearrange it according to what I write, it's going to be s minus 2, s equals minus 2 minus 4r. Okay, here comes again that kind of question. So this is going to be x minus 2 over y equals z. Okay, now always get rid of the denominator, and we are going to solve for y. So what do you think will happen y? The z will come down and y will move that side. That's what is going to happen. If the solving number is in the denominator, it will take the place of z and z will take the place of y. But it's not that easily we can explain in math. We need to show proof for that. So first let's multiply x minus 2 equals z multiplied by y, or you can write zy together, no problem. So now we need to remove the z from here. So when multiply goes to the other side, that becomes x minus 2 over z equals y. See, they just flip their places, but we need to show that step because that's an important step. These two questions, they might look difficult, but they aren't, because they are more simple than the other questions. They only look big because of the capital letters. Okay, PV equals nRT for, you have to solve for R. Now, as you know, this is N multiplied by R multiplied by T. So to remove that, what do? Simply divide them. So that becomes PV over NT equals R. That's it. Wasn't that easy? If you practice, that's where your speed increases as well as the easiness of the lesson increases. Okay, ax plus r equals 7. You have to solve for r. So again, this is a super easy one. It's r is alone. Only we need to move a and x. So this is plus a and x. What happens when it moves to the other side? It becomes 7 minus ax. So hopefully you have understood this lesson. That's all the lesson for this video. Definitely you will understand it better if you practice. Other than practice, I cannot advise you anything. And before I finish the video, as usual, what I say is, if you have not subscribe for this channel, so that if I upload any extra videos, you will get the notification. And also for the homework answers, the video will be uploaded. Plus, a small help for others we can do. If anyone needs this lesson, if anyone is learning this same book, if anyone is in the same grade level as you, you can just say, watch the video, so for they will understand it better. If someone understands and do well, that's good for us too, right? That's a small help we have done, and we will get the deeds for that. We will get the good deeds, right? So see you all in the next video. Until that, keep doing math and take care.